Hello, my name is Mr. King. I'm the head of science here at Haslingden High School, and I'm very proud to be a biology teacher at A level as well. So I'm going to take you through some key questions that very often get asked of the team when we're doing our taster days normally. And I hope maybe if it's before Wednesday the 3rd that you'll be able to join us on our taster days. But if not, I hope that this covers any of the questions that you might have asked. And if you do have any questions having watched the presentation and you would like to get in touch with me, feel free to email me on aking@haslingdenhigh.com and I'll answer any of the questions that you might have about studying biology at A level. So, first question, what is biology? And I think that idea is very important to get you clear. And the key thing is you already know. There isn't any real difference between studying biology at GCSE and studying at A level. It's the same topics almost exactly as are covered in the GCSE syllabus. It's just that we study them in greater depth. So from cells to systems, genes to jungles, we study the whole scope of life on Earth. And it very much does figure that anything that's alive at some point is going to get touched on by the A-level syllabus. So things that are as small as bacteria, things that are as large as trees or even whole ecosystems are things that we're going to look at some point during the course. Essentially, there's a greater focus on the detail of how systems work, whether those are systems inside your body or whether it's an ecosystem, which is looking at how we would see organisms interacting with each other and interacting with their environment. Everything is just a little bit more detailed and we're looking at things at greater breadth. So what does the course content actually look like? Well, each of the years is broken down into 4 key units. So the key units in year 12 are biological molecules, cells, exchange of substances, and then genetics. So biological molecules is about proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and about how those molecules are chemically structured, how they're stored and used inside biological organisms, and how they can be broken down or built up from smaller molecules using enzymes. And enzymes is a huge part of the biomolecules course. Cells takes us right back down to the level of the individual cell. We look at how cells are built, what the individual structures are inside cells, and in much greater depth than at GCSE, we look at the role of those structures in reproducing cells and at making proteins through what we call transcription and translation, which is using DNA to make the proteins that we can see in organisms. In the exchange of substances unit, we're looking at how substances are taken up by biological organisms, so how we absorb water, how we absorb oxygen, how plants absorb carbon dioxide, and how we get rid of those things as well. And in genetics, we take the year 12 sort of introduction to the idea of what genes are, how DNA copies itself, how we use the DNA again to produce proteins. And at that level, we start to look at the idea of how genes are actually able to give us the instructions for what organisms will finally look like. So then we will move into year 13. And year 13, we see harder course content as you would expect. And it really is about making sure that year 12 is very, very solid and very firm before we can move into year 13. So we look at energy transfers, which is detailed photosynthesis and detailed respiration. And that's where most of the chemistry knowledge that's required from GCSE is going to actually have a big impact. We do rely on you having quite good understanding of chemistry in order to be able to teach those units properly. Responding to the environment, population genetics, and control of gene expression are the other 3. Response to the environment is about how organisms actually change and, well, respond to changing patterns around them. So changes of temperature need to be responded to. How do we respond to simple stimuli at a nervous level? And certainly how nerve cells work and how nerve impulses are transmitted is the big meat of what we look at in the response to the environment unit. Population genetics, which is my actual favourite part and the bit that I specialise in. The population genetics is looking in much more detail at the kind of genetics you did at GCSE. So how do we inherit certain genes? Why are genes dominant? Why are genes recessive? Why do people display those characteristics more commonly or less commonly? But also the idea of natural selection and evolution. Why do some genes become more common? Why do some genes become less common? And control of gene expression is what we would think of as the pointy end of A-level biology. It's the most challenging unit, but it's also the most rewarding when you know how it works. So we look at why certain genes get switched on and get switched off. Why are some genes more important than others or more regularly used than others? And we look at genetic engineering. How have we evolved, if you like, scientifically in our methods to be able to change the genetics of certain organisms and to investigate what genes organisms are expressing at a particular time. So that's where we would look at in terms of course content. Quite often get asked the question, who will my teachers be? It's a lot simpler now than it used to be able to tell you that Year 12 classes are taught by Miss Dickinson, Mr Mercer and Mr Ridgway. So 2 of those teachers you'll have at Year 12. And in Year 13, half the course is taught by Miss Dunkley and half the course is taught by myself, Mr King. And that's the way that that's laid down. We've come round to this way of teaching it because it means that we specialise in those 2 year groups. So Miss Dickinson, Mr Mercer and Mr Ridgway teach Year 12 solely now, so they are specialists in that material. Myself and Miss Dunkley specialise in taking that knowledge and layering Year 13 on top of it. And we will be teaching half the course, each of us, to the Year 13 students when they come up. It does mean that all of the biologists have a really good idea, not only of their own units, but have experience of having taught the other year group as well. So Miss Dickinson, Mr Mercer and Mr Ridgway will know what they are going to teach in Year 12 and know how it develops into Year 13. And myself and Miss Dunkley know what is taught in Year 12 and how we are teaching Year 13 in respect to that, because we have all taught those units at various points. In terms of grades, we require you to have a grade 5 pass either in GCSE biology or in GCSE combined science. We recommend that you would have a grade 6 in biology or combined science. Those of you who are doing triple science and who come up to us through GCSE biology, we would also really expect you to have at least a grade 5 and recommend a grade 6 in GCSE chemistry as well. We recommend that you have grade 5 passes in English and maths. If you don't have that basic literacy and numeracy, you will find the course extremely hard. And it is worth saying that many students who come up to us with a grade 5 pass do struggle to get the most out of the course. The idea of recommending a grade 6 is just really trying to tell you that with a grade 5, you're more than welcome to come onto the course, but you are going to have to work very hard. It's actually not that likely that you would come out with the higher grades, and it's about being aware of that at the start. We will work with anybody that has a grade 5 pass, but you need to work hard to make sure that you achieve. Most importantly, it's about commitment. You are going to need to commit to at least half an hour of regular undirected work after every biology lesson. If you are not writing up your notes and making sure you understand the content, every lesson as we go through, you'll fall behind very quickly. And experience tells me that those kinds of people just don't make it to the end of the course. You will be given regular homework, at least an hour a week from one of your teachers, and potentially an hour a week from each of your teachers on top of that regular undirected work. There is a lot of content in biology, and you do need to understand that in order to get through it all and to stay on top of it all, there is going to be a lot of hard work outside of lessons. That shouldn't put you off, and we will always support you with it, and lots of people manage that all the way through. But if you're the kind of GCSE student who just comes to lessons and doesn't do anything outside, then you're probably not the ideal candidate for A-level biology. What other subjects go well with biology is another question I very often get asked. We've had students studying every other course in school at some point over the last 10 years as a mixture of biology, but most common ones tend to be things like chemistry, PE and geography, where there are overlaps with our own course. And students who study physics will see obviously a common approach to the way that we study science and the scientific technique. Students who study psychology often find overlap with the statistics that we teach, and whilst there's not too much overlap with the rest of the course, it will mean that the maths stuff that we do, and there is quite a bit of that, is relatively familiar as you go along. How is the biology course examined? There are 3 separate 2-hour papers that are taken at the end of year 13. Paper 1 is a 2-hour paper that is just about the year 12 course. Paper 2 is a 2-hour paper about the year 13 course. And paper 3 is the stranger one, where the year 12 and 13 material can be equally examined. You can be asked anything from the course, but it's focused in on practical techniques, critically analysing data as a scientist, and you also have to write a synoptic essay. You'll develop a number of skills. Obviously, you'll develop your biological knowledge. You'll develop time management skills, again going back to that idea that there is a lot of work outside the course, and you'll need to balance your homework, your extracurricular work in terms of making sure you're okay with the subject knowledge, and making sure that you're okay with coming to lessons and learning as well. You'll be enhancing your analytical skills, critically analysing data, thinking about how we apply knowledge to new situations, and thinking scientifically about everything that you see, and applying theory to wider and more practical contexts. So whereas at GCSE it was much more theory based, you'll actually take your theory and apply it to new world situations, and you'll start to be able to do that spontaneously in exam questions as well. They'll expect you to be given a new circumstance and be able to understand what's going on with it through your knowledge of theory. Interpersonal skills are going to be really important. Working with your teachers much more closely than you do at GCSE, and working with other members of your class are the kind of skills that we see the very best students having when they come through the A-level biology course. If you can work really well with us and with the people around you, that helps you to get on top of the course content a lot more easily. What can you do with a biology A-level? Almost anything, honestly. As a STEM subject, science, technology, engineering and maths, it's known to be slightly more difficult A-level, an A-level where there's a lot of content, but an A-level that you can achieve in if you work hard. So having an A-level grade in biology tells people that you're a hard worker. You cannot get the biology A-level free. It's an excellent base, obviously, for degrees in biology and in healthcare. Those are the most direct applications. But it also complements a lot of other degree fields. So sports science, psychology, sociology, they all will rely on the kinds of skills you'll develop in biology and a little bit of the knowledge too. It opens up opportunities also for scientific apprenticeships, as well as university courses. And we've had a couple of students in the last few years, and it's a growing area of interest for people, that there are apprenticeships in the Valley that will be looking for people with the skills that have been developed in A-level biology, particularly practically, but also with some of your theory knowledge. I just wanted to finish up here then by giving you a few key pointers as to why you might want to study A-level biology and why you particularly might want to study it here at Haslingden. As I just said, biology is a STEM subject. It's a demonstrator that you've got good scientific and academic ability. And I think it's well known and well understood that you cannot get through biology without applying yourself, without working hard, and without being a talented student. We have an extremely experienced and dedicated team at Haslingden. Mr. Mercer, Mr. Ridgway, Miss Dickinson, myself and Miss Dunkley are well known for being people that are supporting their students, that will go outside of lesson hours to support you, and who are extremely experienced in doing what they do. We all have at least 10 years of teaching, and if you actually add up the A-level teaching between the team, it's about 60 to 70 years of A-level teaching experience that we have between the 5 of us. You are coming here to learn biology. You are coming to a team who know what they are doing and will support you to get the very best that you can do. Biology is a rewarding course for those people that already have an interest in it. If you enjoy biology, if it is something that you look forward to coming and studying, and if you have an interest generally in the things that biology mean, then you will definitely get a lot out of the course. It expands upon what you already know, And if it expands on something that already interests you, then it is something that people find draws them back and rewards them by keeping them interested right the way through the 2 years. And finally, if you are wanting to do a science subject, this is the most general one. So biology, chemistry and physics are all good STEM subjects. They all have experienced and dedicated teams. They're all rewarding for those that have interest. But if you're looking for something that is a general indicator and that leads to a lot of very different choices at university or further apprenticeship level, this subject keeps your options open. It's a very general course which you can open doors to lots of other areas with. And so I'll leave it there. I hope to be able to see you on Taste today if it hasn't already been and past us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me on aking@haslingdenhigh.com and I'll get in touch with you just as soon as I can. Thanks a lot.